On campus, everybody feared one name, Koba. He was not just a member of the court. He was the leader, the one who gave the orders, the one who decided who lived in peace and who suffered. Koba's eyes were cold. He never smiled unless it was evil. Students whispered, "Don't look at him. Don't cross his path." Even lecturers prayed he would not notice them. The court was more than a gang. It was a terror. They ruled the nights. They broke into houses, beat boys, raped girls, and stole what they wanted. When Koba spoke, the others obeyed like slaves. He enjoyed it. He loved hearing people scream. He loved the fear in their eyes. He told himself, "There is no God. If there was a God, he would have stopped me already." One night, Koba and his gang stormed a hostel. The boys there were studying for exams. Koba laughed, flipped the table, tore their books, and burned one in front of them. "Your books will not save you," he shouted. The boys cried, but no one fought back. Who could fight Koba? Another night, he dragged a boy out of bed and made him kneel on broken glass just because he refused to pay tax to the court. Blood dripped and Koba smiled. People began to say Koba had no heart. Some said he was a demon in human skin. One Sunday, the court met in their secret room. Smoke filled the air. Laughter was loud. Bottles covered the floor. Koba slammed his hand on the table. "Tonight," he said, "we go big. We will not just steal. We will show this campus that we own the night." "Which house, boss?" one of them asked. Koba's lips curled. "The small gray house with the mango tree. The pastor's house." The gang cheered. "But boss," one boy whispered nervously, "they say the pastor prays fire. They say his God protects him." Koba roared with laughter. "God? Which God? I have broken into many houses. Where was he? Tonight I will show that there is no God. We are gods." The boys clapped and shouted. They followed him like dogs. Midnight. The street was silent. The mango tree cast long shadows on the wall. Koba pushed the gate. Creaked like a warning. He spat on the ground. "Even your gate fears me," he mocked. Inside, the living room was neat. Too neat. A Bible lay open on the table. Koba kicked it aside. "Nonsense." He pointed at the rooms. "Search." The boys ran. One door empty. Another empty. A third door opened. There she was. A young woman, maybe 22. The pastor's daughter. She wore a simple dress. Her face was calm. The boys rushed forward shouting, "We got her." Koba stepped in. His eyes shone with wicked fire. "So this is the preacher's treasure." The girl did not scream. She did not beg. She only lifted her eyes and whispered, "Lord, you are my shield." Koba froze. He heard the words clear like thunder in his chest. He lifted his hand to strike her. But something strange happened. His hand trembled. The gang gasped. "Boss, what's wrong?" one asked. Koba's lips tightened. He wanted to slap her to show he was still in control. But her calm eyes pierced him like a sword. They were not afraid. They were not broken. It was as if she was not looking at him, but through him. The boys laughed nervously. "Finish her, boss. Show her who rules the night." Koba's heart pounded. Why couldn't he move? The girl whispered again, softer this time. "God is here." Koba's hand trembled, but he forced it steady. His jaw tightened. His eyes burned like fire. The boys screamed, "Boss, show her you are God. Show her fear." The girl whispered again, "God is here." Koba laughed, a hard, cruel laugh that shook the room. "God. Tonight I am God. Control life. I control death. No one tells me what to do." Koba stood tall in the pastor's house. His chest rose like a king. His hand no longer shook. "Tonight," he shouted, "I am God. I decide what happens here." The gang cheered. They beat their chests. They whistled. They called his name. Naomi tried to stay calm. Her lips whispered prayers. Her hands trembled, but she kept her eyes on Koba. "The Lord is my shield," she said. Koba laughed loud, a laugh so cruel it made the small house shake. "Your shield? Where is he now? Look at me. I am stronger than your God." The boys pushed forward. They tore through drawers, stole money, grabbed jewelry. Still Naomi stood. She refused to scream. "Boss," Samson urged. "Show her who rules the night." Koba nodded slowly. His eyes glowed with wickedness. He forced himself on her, proving to everyone that he was the god of fear. Naomi fought. She whispered prayers through tears. She tried to hold her faith, but the gang was too many, and Koba too strong. In the end, she lay broken, her body defeated. But her spirit was not crushed. Even in pain, her eyes glared with a quiet strength. She looked at Koba with something he had never seen before. Not fear, not begging, but sorrow. Sorrow for him. That look cut him deeper than any blade. The court left the house like victors. They carried money, gold, and laughter into the night. "Boss, you are a god," they shouted. "No one can stand against you." Koba smirked. He raised his chin high. To the world he had won. But deep inside something was wrong. Naomi's eyes followed him into the street. Eyes full of pain, yet still full of faith. She had lost everything, but somehow she did not lose herself. Back in their hideout, the boys drank and celebrated. They sang Koba's name. They danced around him. But Koba did not join. He sat in the corner, silent. He poured drink after drink, but it tasted like dust. Every time he blinked, he saw Naomi's eyes. That look, that sorrow, that prayer. Why did she not break? Why did she still pray? Why does her face follow me? He slammed his fist on the table, trying to silence the thoughts. "I am God," he shouted. The boys roared with him, but the words sounded empty. Inside he felt a crack. A voice whispered, "You are not God. You are only a man." That night Koba could not sleep. He turned left. He turned right. He covered his head with a pillow. Still, her eyes burned into his mind. The strongest man on campus, the cruel leader of the court, began to tremble in the dark. And for the first time in many years, fear found Koba. Koba sat alone in his room. Bottles on the floor. Smoke in the air. The gang was out celebrating, but he was not with them. He could not rest. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her. Naomi. Her tears. Her whispered prayers. Her eyes filled with sorrow, yet strong enough to cut through him. Koba slammed his fist against the wall. "Why can't I forget her?" he shouted. He had forced many girls before. None of them stayed in his mind. They screamed, they begged, they disappeared. But Naomi, she was still here, burning like fire in his head. He poured more drink. Did not help. He tried loud music. It only made the voice louder. "You are not God. You are only a man." The next day, Koba walked across campus. Students moved out of his way like usual, but he did not notice. His eyes scanned for one person. He grabbed a boy near the canteen. "Ooh, do you know the pastor's daughter?" The boy froze. "Why yes, Naomi. What kind of girl is she?" Koba growled. The boy's eyes shifted nervously. She is quiet. She prays a lot. She helps in the church. People respect her. They say her faith is strong." Koba shoved him away. He should have laughed, but the words only pressed harder on his chest. Strong faith. Even after what I did. That evening, Koba left his gang behind and went alone. He pulled a hoodie over his head and followed the road to the small gray house. From a distance he watched. The gate was closed. A lamp glowed in the window. He saw her shadow moving inside. She walked slowly, still limping from that night, but her head was high. She came out with a small basket, walked to the corner shop, and greeted the seller with a gentle smile. The same girl he had broken now offered kindness to others. Koba's chest tightened. He had seen broken people. Naomi was not broken. She was wounded, yes, but something inside her refused to die. He muttered under his breath, "Why? Why are you still standing? For 3 nights, Koba followed her from a distance. He watched her buy bread for the poor. He watched her carry her Bible to church. He watched her pray alone under the mango tree. He told himself he only wanted to prove she was weak, to see her fall apart. But instead, the more he watched, the more he realized she was stronger than him. One night, Naomi stopped suddenly. She turned around, her eyes scanning the street. For a moment, Koba froze. Did she know he was following? Her lips moved in prayer. Even in the dark, even when she thought she was alone, she prayed. Koba's legs shook. He backed away quickly, heart pounding. On Sunday morning, Koba did something no one expected. He walked past the bar, past the hostels, and stopped outside a church. He did not go in. He stood near the wall, hiding in the shadows. Inside he could hear singing. He could hear the voice of Naomi among the others. He leaned against the wall, his chest heavy. His hand trembled. He whispered to himself, "Why do I care? Why can't I kill this face in my mind?" And then the pastor's voice rose. God can reach the hardest heart. No sin is too dark for his light. No man is too lost for his hand. Koba's breath caught. His legs felt weak. For the first time in many years, tears burned in his eyes. He wiped them quickly, angry at himself. Still he did not leave. He stayed in the shadows, listening. When the service ended, people poured out laughing and talking. Naomi stepped outside, holding her Bible. She looked peaceful, almost glowing. Koba hid behind a wall, staring. His heart raced. For a second, her eyes lifted and seemed to look straight at him. He froze. Did she see him? Naomi turned, walked down the road, and disappeared into the distance. Koba stayed rooted to the spot. His hands shook. His chest pounded. The mighty Koba, the feared leader, whispered to himself, "I have to know that." That Sunday morning, the streets were alive with voices heading to church. The sun rose softly, painting the roofs with gold. For the first time, Koba did not stand outside the wall, did not hide by the window. He pushed the hood off his head and stepped through the church doors. Gasps filled the air. Whispers spread quickly. Is that not Koba, the king of the night? What is he doing here? But Koba did not look at them. His steps were heavy, but they carried him forward. And when he reached the altar, he did not stand tall like a gang leader. He fell to his knees, his forehead on the floor, his voice breaking with sobs that shook the hall. "I am tired of the night," he cried. "God, forgive me." The pastor, Naomi's father, looked down with tears in his eyes. "This is the house of mercy," he said. "No matter how far you ran, God's arms are still open." The congregation grew silent. Some judged him, some feared him. But none could deny the sight of a man broken before God. His tears wet the floor. His trembling hands lifted in surrender. Naomi sat quietly, her eyes filled with tears. Not of fear but of recognition. She remembered what God had whispered to her heart months before. "Your husband will come in a tragic way, but he will not remain in it. He will be broken, but I will use you to help heal him." Now she understood. The days that followed were not easy. The gang mocked him. Samson spat at him. "You, a church boy now. Where is your crown, king of the night?" But Koba did not fight back. The fists that once ruled the streets were now lifted in prayer. Nights that once roared with music and alcohol were now filled with tears, whispers, and wrestling with God. Naomi became a quiet anchor. She never mocked him, never reminded him of his shame. She walked beside him, prayed with him, sometimes simply sat in silence while he struggled to breathe. And in that silence, something new grew between them. One evening, under the mango tree, Koba finally spoke. His voice trembled. "Naomi, I was a man of shadows, broke lives. I carried fear like a crown. But when I see your eyes, I see light. When I hear your voice, the storm inside me grows calm. I don't just admire you, Naomi. Love you. I am lost in you. You are the only peace I have ever known. Naomi's eyes softened, tears slipping down her cheeks. She whispered, steady and sure. Koba, I know. God told me before. He said my husband would come in a tragic way. That I would not lose my purity in hell, because he preserved me for this moment. And now, here you are, my husband. Koba's heart broke all over again. He took her hands, pressing them against his face. You call me husband. After all I've done. Naomi smiled through her tears. Yes, because I don't see the king of the night anymore. I see the man God is making you to be. Koba wept, whispering, Naomi, you've healed wounds I thought would never close. I was blind, but in your eyes I see everything clearly. You are my heart. And under that mango tree, love took root where darkness once reigned. Months passed. Koba grew strong in faith. The gang that once bowed to him scattered. Samson's threats grew silent. The man who once walked in shadows now walked boldly in the daylight. And then came the day when the church bells rang for joy. Naomi walked down the aisle in her white gown, radiant as the sun. Koba stood waiting, no longer in his hoodie, but in a clean suit, his face glowing with peace. When their hands met at the altar, the pastor lifted his voice. What God has joined together, let no man put asunder. It was not just a wedding. It was a testimony. They once said Koba was the king of the night. They said his heart was stone, his soul too far gone. But they were wrong. Because when he met her, Naomi, the woman of prayer and faith, his darkness shattered. What began in fear ended in love. What began in tragedy ended in testimony. And their story became a light, proving to the world that no night is too dark for God to break, and no heart is too hard for God to heal. And dear friend listening to this story, remember this. No matter how deep the night, no matter how heavy the past, God can still write a new ending for you. Sometimes He uses His word. Sometimes He uses His love. And sometimes He sends someone, just like Naomi, to remind us we are not too far gone. If He could change the God of the night, He can change you too.